Prabhakar would come on set, I would get into a bad mood, you know. Come in this very loud, garish costumes, burping loudly, talking loudly, behaving uncouth, and you know, I'd just be like, oh God, please don't talk to me as Prabhu.
He did not really follow the case or anything of that sort because it's such a stupid crime.
Be it expression or a gesture or just a movement, anything can make it look quirky, make it look comical. Mammootty's film, yeah, that
Where
one.
he goes to sleep. Oh my God.
And then he gets up as a different person altogether.
It's beautiful.
Konkona, Manoj, Abhishek, welcome to The Hindu.
Thank you.
I'll begin with Konkona. I'll have to ask, you've had quite a few memorable romantic pairings in your filmography over the years, but how charming was it to have Manoj Bajpayee as Prabhakar say lines like acidity babes?
Prabhakar. You know, I have to say that as Prabhakar, not so much. Whenever Prabhakar would come on set, I would get into a bad mood, you know. Come in this very loud, garish costumes, burping loudly, talking loudly, behaving uncouth, and you know, I'd just be like, oh God, please don't talk to me as Prabhu. But whenever he would come as Umesh, I would love it. I would tell him also that, you know, Umesh has come, he's such a gentle, lovely soul, and really enjoyed Umesh. And what was the most interesting is when he would come as Umesh trying to be Prabhu. That's when even I think my character was like confused because I was like, you know, some of the resentment of Prabhu would come out towards Umesh. Sometimes, you know, remembering that this is actually not Prabhu, but this is Umesh. You know, what we want people to be, how we actually perceive people, how they make us feel. It's a very interesting thing.
I would trip every time Prabhakar would say acidity babes.
You know, after a while, all marriages are about acidity.
But I find it interesting. Avishek was there with Vishal, so I guess you guys would have known each other from Omkara.
Yeah, we worked together
Omkara
in
days.
Yeah, Omkara,
That's
yeah.
right.
You guys have done two wonderful works together, Sonchiriya and Hangama Kyun Hai Barbar.
Right.
Your paths never crossed like in your filmography earlier.
Can you believe it?
Strangely. Did you guys know of each other? Were you friends?
Never.
Of course, I knew. Who doesn't know Manoj Bajpayee?
I
I've
knew
been
of her.
wanting to-
Definitely, I've seen her work.
Yes.
Admired it from a
Socially,
distance.
when socially.
And wanted to work with him, but you know, somehow never even got offered. It was never, I don't think anybody ever thought of it. Thank God Abhishek did. Abhishek also, you know, they produced my film Death in
Yes,
the Gun,
yes.
so we've had a long association. I'd been wanting to work with Abhishek, and I'm just so happy that he got us together in this
Right.
acidic pairing.
Acidic pen.
Did you have them in mind? Right.
Yeah. This was one of the rare instances in my life where I wrote with the
Right.
actors who played it. Yeah. The only other time it's happened is I think Ded Ishqiya, where I knew Nasir and Arshad are going to be there and Madhuri Dixit was part of it. Other than that, it's never happened in my life.
Right.
So this was really the first time when I spoke to Manoj even before I wrote the beat sheets out.
Right.
I just had some semblance of a story in my head.
Right.
And I spoke to Coco before I wrote my dialogue draft. So, I mean, they were there all the time.
What I find amazing about the concept of Killer Soup is that this actually happened, and not only this actually happened, but when I read about the actual case, like somewhere they were inspired by a film. They saw a film, and that kind of helped them put that idea together. It's a rare instant of like cinema feeding into life and feeding back into and coming out like a web series this time.
Wow, we had no idea actually about any of this.
Yeah, because my writers, Harshad Nalavade, Uneza Merchant and Anant Tripathi, they came across this headline, and literally what we've done with the story is from the headline.
Right.
We did not really follow the case or anything of that sort because it's such a stupid crime. I mean, what did they expect was going to happen? You know, but in our case, the way we thought about it, that headline was so curious that, okay, what if, you know, life takes its own course and at least for now they get away with it. So that was our starting point. I mean, you know, and then, you know, we started developing it on that, from that.
Right. I have to ask both of you, you know, kids in, let's say, film school or acting school, they taught about motivation, let's say, or emotion, things like that. When you're doing a crime comedy, what's the primary frame of mind as performance? Are you thinking more about what the character's going through or feeling, or more about it's the situation, it's you know, from where things are coming at you? What is the frame of mind in this particular genre when you're doing scenes and approaching sequences?
Motivation is going to be there, definitely. Yeah. Motivation is something I personally feel that even if you are doing a slapstick, you know, there is motivation. And then you try to remember the genre and then you turn it around. But motivation you can't do without. Because everything is based on that. If there is no motivation, then that means you're just doing an atom scene.
Right.
Okay, where everything is happening without any purpose. How I look at it, that it's all very real, it's all very believable. Sometimes it turns into a situational comedy, and you try to create that situation in such a way that it doesn't go out of the scene. It's still part of the scene. Yeah, be it expression or a gesture or just a movement, anything can make it look quirky, make it look comical.
Right.
But that is not the purpose. Purpose is to stay there, stay in the truth of the moment, without really making it too obvious about it.
I don't think that when I am, firstly, I don't usually have a plan. I don't really always know in that sense. I'm not always so aware. A lot of it, the time, it is very intuitive. So I just like to make sure that I know my lines. I like to make sure that I know what's happening before, what's happening after. And I just take my character very seriously. Like her, like what is going through with her, what does she have to do? And it has to be believable for me. I have to make it believable for me.
Right.
And then hopefully other people will also find it believable. And then you have the director who can, they will place you, or they can bring you back in line, or say no, it's not this way, it's actually. I can't keep in mind that it's a crime comedy, because I don't think Swati, my character, is out to do crime or out to do comedy. Right. She has some other goals only happening. फिर उसके बाद crime comedy हो गया तो हो गया.
Right. There's actually a very memorable scene halfway through the show where your character, she's trying to handle a situation, then she breaks down suddenly. And she has to kind of, hold herself together and kind of move on. That's the scene that made me think of this. Okay, there's so much of an emotional roller coaster for Swati going through the show, right?
She's just constantly problem solving,
Yeah. Remember when once early we had discussed, it's almost like, they're ice skating when they're not very good at it.
Yeah.
And just trying to get away from the cops. It's literally
trying
like
to stay
that.
afloat.
Yeah, just trying to not trip and fall.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful Easter egg. I didn't like Samar Pratap and Bachu Yadav are brothers. Like,
He's talking about Shul.
Shul,
right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy his company, Sayaji Shinde. I think he's one of a kind.
Yes.
And his performances and the way he does it, only he can do it.
And very effortless.
And very effortlessly he does it. It's bizarre. His responses are bizarre. His performance is bizarre. And then you have to be on your toes.
Right.
How you're going to respond to that, because he comes from some other place altogether.
So full of conviction.
So full of conviction. Yeah.
Just takes you away with him.
Yeah. So there were a few scenes that we've done in the series. I personally loved that sequence. That's my favorite, where I'm drinking and I'm trying to convince him about that when it was raining and we've done
Sitting
it
outside.
Sitting outside.
My God,
Yeah.
That's my favorite one. Yeah.
Right. Manoj, in a recent interview, spoke very heartily about how this obsession with numbers in our film industry has kind of killed the culture of filmmaking. And I remember back in the day, you guys had done one of the most memorable and strongest films of our Indian cinema, which was Sonchiriya. But around that time, the conversation also got wrapped up into how the film performed and didn't perform. Abhishek has been doing tremendous work post-pandemic also, but on series, like we have not had a. Do you think we've kind of lost that? Almost the vocabulary of how we appreciate films and talk about films after a release and things like that. And it all gets kind of clouded with how much numbers are you doing.
I've never been interested in the numbers conversation, frankly. So I just zone out if people are talking about numbers. And as you said, like, regular people are also talking about
regular
numbers,
people, yeah.
like iska to 100 crore club it had started with. For me, it's like talking about, "Arey, maine to ye gadget liya, ye naya iPhone liya, ye wala Mercedes." So immediately I just start zoning out. I don't even do it on purpose,
Same here. I mean, just the material aspect of the filmmaking, which we are discussing too much about it, it kind of suddenly throws me off, and then I'm no more interested in the conversation. And this has been happening. And I have not been diplomatic about it. I have been really putting forward my opinion. You can make a hit film, super hit films, 200 crore, 300 crore, 400, 1,000 crore films. It doesn't, But if that is going to be the benchmark of any film, then we are only damaging the cinema culture. And when you damage the cinema culture, then you are damaging cinema completely. And without cinema, we cannot improve as a film industry. Period. It's not the 1,000 crore or 2,000 crore. It will not save you. Then we'll be making something else, definitely. And if that is going to be the culture, then to save our life or to because it's our passion also, we'll do it. But will that be the culture that we are interested in? That is the culture that we want to be prevalent in this industry. Now we are only focusing on the numbers so much that even the audiences started talking in that language. Are we doing the right thing? So yeah, I mean that has been personally hurting me since a long time, and I've been voicing my opinion because I'm really concerned about cinema in our country. Because then the people who are making small films, they don't have that much of resources to promote their films, that much resources to exhibit their films in so many screens. So should we consider them a failure? And they are making some great cinema, and those films are really doing well in all the festivals. They are getting so much of laurels from outside. So should we consider them failure from the beginning? So there are too many questions that I have, concerns I have for Indian cinema, per se.
Abhishek, post-pandemic, has life become like easier or harder for you, do you think, as a filmmaker in terms of getting films on?
Definitely harder. No question about it. Life has become much harder. In fact, movies have changed. There was till about 7 or 8 years ago, middle cinema was thriving.
Yeah.
It was doing very well.
Yeah.
It gave rise to so many stars, new stars. And that's kind of going away. Even those stars are doing these bombastic kind of films, and it's going to come and bite us, rather than later. It's going to come and bite us because even if this obsession with weekend numbers stops, I don't think you're going to have lesser hit films. Same number of hit and flop films will come.
Right, same number.
Regardless of the conversation you have. I mean, So, yes, life has become very difficult for a filmmaker, especially to make it for the big screen. Because of what the trade is, plying the audiences with and, repeatedly talking about it. That's one. And two, there is censorship, and censorship is getting from bad to worse.
Right.
So it's not an easy time to be a filmmaker for the big screen, for sure.
I must still ask, Konkona made one of the most memorable short films I saw this year, which was The Mirror.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah, lovely film.
And I must ask, she's directed, he's a director. You have ever wondered of, directing or writing a script, like between?
It hasn't crossed my mind.
Never?
Never, because I think I'm an actor.
And he has no free time. Always busy.
She writes very well, and she is, and that was very much evident in Death of Ganj.
Yeah.
And it's so much evident in that, you call it short film, I call it half a film actually. Okay, so it's like making a full-fledged film, 2 hours film, and the way she etch out her characters and also the interpersonal chemistry is so beautiful
Thank
in
you.
The Mirror.
Thank you. But what about you? Will
What?
you direct a film? Will
I mean,
you
no, no, not right now.
Inside what he's not saying is, मैं पागल हो गया मैं देखकर. अच्छा खासा चल रहा है.
Correct.
अच्छा खासा चल रहा है.
Okay, I have some short ones, quick ones. All three of you can answer. Best Hindi film you saw this year outside of your own work and each other's work?
No, I've always said it in one of my interviews, The Mirror.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's my favorite, and also
Hindi film.
Film.
Hindi film.
Hindi film, no? So that's the one. If that
I'll
is,
take that.
yeah.
I'll take that. Yeah.
So
Thank you.
yeah, and if you ask me any other language, just now I finished Jigar Thanda, XX. Yeah, I loved it. It was so entertaining and so experimental at the same time. Yeah.
Good fun.
Konkona, for you?
We can't, the thing is that I now watch films usually 5 years later or something like that. So this year I have really no clue yet. I watched, can you believe it? I watched Kumbalangi Nights last week. So late to the party and I loved it. I usually can't somehow end up watching it exactly at that time. I'm busy or whatever, the hype is too much. I end up watching it later.
Please
What
watch
about
my
you?
film.
You say. What did you like this year?
Please watch my films. Please watch
I
my
will
films.
watch your films. Yes.
Joram, please
There was
watch.
Joram, which came out recently.
Yes.
Lovely. एक नहीं है मेरी दो तीन है.
Go on.
There was Avinash's film that came out.
yeah.
Three of us, na?
Yeah,
Really
which
want
was
to watch
lovely.
that.
There is Poker ke Dunu Part that's
Yep,
on movie,
lovely.
which is absolutely wonderful.
I also had to ask, like, let's say an international or an English title that you really like this year.
I really like Promising Young Woman.
There are many.
I liked
New
where
film
it
is
went.
also out.
Oppenheimer,
A new film, Saltburn.
Oppenheimer.
It's
Interesting.
not supposed to be.
Napoleon. Yeah.
Napoleon देखा?
हाँ,
Oh, shit, I missed
better
it.
में.
What do you think of Joaquin, like the lead performer?
I mean, he's so good. He's so good. I mean, I really want to go that deep. Personally, when I'm playing, I want to have that luxury of getting that deep into the character that Walker Phoenix does. It is quite a revelation, and even in Joker, this is where he kind of aces. If you give him time, that much of time, then you see a side of an actor which is such a revelation.
Which is the role from, let's say, your work you think that had pushed you the most? Like,
Gali Goliyan was on the 25th day, 26th day, that was the first time in my life I felt that there is a breakdown happening. And I started hearing whistle sound in my brain. Yeah, suddenly. And they had to stop the shoot and I was put on sleeping pill. And I kept on sleeping for 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours. In Chandni Chowk, there was a base that they have created in one of the flats. And I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I found myself in the base room. And I was wondering, where am I? What am I doing here? So yeah, they had to put me on a very strong sleeping pill. Yeah, the doctor asked them to really take me and put me on that sleeping pill immediately because I was on the verge of the collapse.
Abhishek, you have a favorite international or English title from this year?
I don't know if it's this year's, but Close, Lucas don't.
Close is this year kind of
This
like.
year. So yeah, that I really love.
Close.
बहुत सुंदर film है sir. Joyland international film. Yeah.
Joyland, yeah.
Great.
Joyland was
Even mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful film happening across the border as well. Like,
Yeah.
lovely
Across the
Hindi
border.
English features.
Across the border. But you know, I somehow.
आज मन तो करता है हिंदुस्तानी है.
मतलब,
Yes,
हाँ.
yeah,
है नहीं, but हाँ.
लेकिन, but you know, when I watch films from all languages and you just go into Malayalam, sea of content there.
Yeah, crazy.
Then I started watching Kannada films.
Yeah.
And
That Lijo Joseph Pelliceri's film this year with that very long name.
which one?
And with Mammootty.
Mammootty's film, yeah, that
Where
one.
he goes to sleep. Oh my God.
And
What
then
a
he
film.
gets up as a different person altogether.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful film.
Thank you so much, guys. All the best for Killisu.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.